Good morning and welcome to another Go-to-Market Friday. We got a great guest today. For those of you who are not familiar, Jeannine Crispino, who runs customer success globally for SixSense. Gosh, Jeannine, you've had a great run there too. I should have said that earlier. A fantastic run at SixSense. We're going to be talking about customer journey mapping, but before we dive into it and do a deep dive on customer journey mapping as people are filtering in here, first, in the upper corner, you'll notice a QR code. We've had close to 400 videos of go-to-market experts on a variety of topics: AI, ABM, demand gen, kind of this new generation of search marketing for GEO. If you have a specific question, my co-host Meg, who's got a commitment today, but my co-host Meg or I are happy to answer a question. So you can either ping us directly on a question, or you can like and subscribe on that QR code. It'll bring you right to the YouTube page with all those videos and all those resources. But I mentioned earlier today, we've got Jeannine joining us from the New York City area. Jeannine, thank you for investing your time, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about it too. We're very passionate about it at SixSense. And it's something that's just been evolving over time. So excited to share it with you and the audience and whoever wants to watch us today.
Well, that's great. And I know, so I think I heard you on another vlog or podcast. You were talking about this whole concept of customer journey mapping. And it sounds like at Empowered CMO, where you had kind of a cohort of people also talking about this topic. It's a hot topic, but maybe we could just kind of take a step back and maybe start with, like, what is customer journey mapping, and like why were you involved, and like go from this very, very start. I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. So customer success, I mean, it's not that new, right? Like I've been in it my whole career, so about 20 years now, not to date myself. And with SixSense, like you mentioned, I've been at SixSense for over 7 years, and we've created this like best in class CS model where we have really good relationships with our customers. We understand their needs. We're their strategic partner to help them, hit their goals. And it's been going great. And as we've grown with SixSense, year over year, we needed to scale a bit, and we also needed to make sure our customers are getting the best experience, no matter if they have a CSM that has been with us, like me, for 7 years, or net new to the company. So we started to kind of map out internally, like nothing big yet, nothing journey map wise. What experience are our customers getting? Like, when are we talking to them? What interactions are we having? Like, what value are they getting from the product? And when we took a step back, we realized we were really good at two things. We were really good at onboarding. We created an onboarding team with our ProServe team. So knowing what a customer does up front, still work to do there that I'll talk about in the process. And we were really good towards the end of the contract when it's time to talk about the renewal and what they're seeing and if they want to continue their partnership. But it was the messy middle that we all had trouble documenting. It's like, well, what goes on in the middle of the journey? Like, what's happening? And it was a hodgepodge of, well, I do this, or I have an EBR once a quarter or once a month. And we were like, hold on, like, we need to streamline this and understand, what outputs and inputs we're getting from the customer throughout this life cycle. And we took it, I'll talk about it, with the life cycle, but we were like, we have to turn this messy middle into moments that matter, and like understanding what touch points really make sense. And to do that, we had to get in a room and go through it. So the generic answer that I would give you, though, on life cycle and journey mapping is it's a streamlined approach to understand the steps in the process that you want the customer to take along their life cycle in partnership with you. But on the flip, it's not just telling the customer what steps you want them to take. It's understanding what they need and how they're going to be successful. So we had to map it out so it wasn't this messy middle too much longer.
No, that's fascinating. And it sounds like it probably has an impact on maybe retention or upsell strategy by having all this, or like what was the outcome of being able to map all this? Like, what intelligence were you able to kind of derive from it that you didn't have previously?
Yeah. So like any company right now, it's hard out there. Everybody's cutting budget. Everybody has to downsize. Like, even if they're super happy. It's still, hey, my CFO needs us to come down 10% or whatever it is. So, churn is real, I think, for any company right now. I think if you speak to anybody in customer success outside of SixSense, within SixSense, it's hard out there. And we took an approach for how we're going to prevent churn and how we're also going to prevent churn, but also prevent red accounts and get happy customers, right? So we actually started from the back. We started, from, I guess, the end, I would say. And we looked at customers that were churning or, that were not happy. And we have churn reason codes and churn categories. And from there, we realized we had to kind of shake things up because CSM would say, oh, they churned because of this competitor. And it's like, well, did they really churn because of that competitor, or were they not happy? And if so, why were they not happy? What was their customer sentiment? And we realized it all goes back to customer value, if they're seeing value. And then a step back from that is they're not going to see value if they're not using the product and adopting. And it's all about adoption. And that adoption and usage phase happens in that messy middle. Like, you can't hit up a customer towards the end when it's renewal time, like, hey, let's talk about renewal, and not have chatted with them 9 months ago about, hey, like, we noticed there's a drop in usage. Why is that? Let's get you some more enablement, or let's get your sales team trained. So that's kind of how we took a step back and focusing, to your point, on those leading indicators so that when we get to renewal time, it's not so hard. It's, of course, you're going to renew. You're using us and you're seeing value, like sign on the dotted line. I mean, it's not that easy. I wish it was. My team's probably like, that's not how it works. But it makes it easier than approaching the renewal at the end and saying, oh, let me now try to talk to you about why you should be using us. So that messy middle is really, in my opinion, where the customer knows and identifies if they are going to continue the partnership. And to your point on upsell, if they want to expand the partnership, if there's ways to consolidate other tech within SixSense, that's when they're thinking about it. Like, they're not thinking about it, I think, at the end of the journey.
Yeah, I love how you started with kind of the end in mind and talking about those leading indicators to churn. And full disclosure, we're a partner of SixSense, so I could, like, I'm mentally mapping what you're saying to what our experience is, and yeah, it makes a ton of sense in terms of how you've approached it. I seem to remember you were talking about automating a good portion of this as well, which to me, I've not heard, and I talk with, as a lot of people know, I talk with a lot of people in the industry. Very few talk about the automation side of that customer mapping and dropping it in and being able to kind of query that information. If that's an approach that you took, like, who was responsible? Like, how did you divvy up responsibilities across teams there? Because that could be a little bit sensitive depending on how you're navigating internally, I would imagine.
Yeah. So I just made a note, so I remember two things to say to you. So first, yes, this is not just CS. So while I do run our customer success department, when we mapped out the customer journey, I think this is very important for people to know, I was not the most important person in the room. Everybody was. We needed representation from sales, from solutions consulting, from marketing, operations, and customer marketing / customer lifecycle. I'm probably forgetting. Oh, product. Sorry, obviously product. And the reason why we did that is we needed buy-in from the start that this is going to be the customer journey that we are all going to agree upon that they take. And this is what we want to put out there. Like, this is what we're proud of. And it does start, to your point, in pre-sale. It's like, what expectations are we setting with the customer? What do they think is going to happen once they sign? What have we captured in this pre-sale process that we want throughout the journey? So we started with that, and I could talk in a little more detail if anybody wants on the roles. But we did this last December, so not even a year ago. And I will tell you that, meaning we like really streamlined it a year ago, that since December till today, it's already different. We are already looking at what pieces we can automate. So in December, we personally didn't have internal agents. We didn't have, we had all the different tech, but we weren't really utilizing it well, like other technology to help us automate and be more digital. So we now have that. And what we did was we basically took the life cycle that we mapped out, and similar how I said with the customer, like, what are the moments that matter? It's kind of thinking of the lens of what are the moments that matter and need to be human, and what are the moments that can be automated and still not feel like robotic and, just, you can't go fully AI on things. You got to still have a human touch for CS. But there were things like I just mentioned, like Drops in usage. My CSM does not have to send you an email on that. They can, but we have automation that is now going to let you know and advise you how you should be doing it. Different tutorials. We're a user of Gainsight and Matic. We're using Gainsight and Matic to automate different ways that we send value messaging to customers. If anybody's familiar with Gainsight, we are really trying to adopt their CTAs. So that means call to action. And you can make the call to action automated, which is really freaking cool, excuse my language, or human, and say, hey, CSM, like, we noticed this, you have to do that. So we did have to take a step back and see what we have that we can automate and still have that, personal touch. Like, I think it's very important to still speak in the brand voice, your own voice. And, we have an internal agent that can do that too.
Oh, that's fascinating and interesting. Very fast. I didn't realize how quickly you were able to kind of deploy that. I missed that in the first conversation. So that's amazing that not only did you do it quickly, but you've already seen change to it. Was there any other technology like a Snowflake or a Databricks or something that aggregated all your product information and all this disparate sets of data? Or was it more of a manual process of, okay, manual or siloed process of, okay, I got to go into Gainsight to do this, or I've got to go here to do that? Like, how did that work behind the scenes?
Yeah, our data science team and data architecture team, they did work with the likes of Snowflake, I believe, and some others. I should know that. Shout out to Ken if he's watching this in the future. And we went from having, not that we had no data, but we went from having very limited visibility into our usage data and what we're seeing into almost having too much. I have probably 50 Tableau dashboards with different ways to slice and dice the data. And then our data architecture team and our operations team helped us feed into Gainsight. And obviously Salesforce is connected to Gainsight. What we want the CSMs to look at and focus on. It's almost like going from not enough to too much was overwhelming. And I think it made everybody not focus. So we did pull out certain features and usage metrics that we knew led to renewal. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, there's a lot you can do with SixSense, but we know if they're doing these core use cases and they've identified their ICP and they're doing X, Y, and Z, they are more likely to be happy and see value and, renew. If they do some of these other things, cool, that's great. We want them to do that too. But that's not going to make them, sticky and really see us as a true integral part of their business. So we do use that. We have Gainsight, like I mentioned. I can talk about Matic in a little bit if you guys want. That's how we export some items. But they really are living in Gainsight or Tableau right now, which is coming from our data architecture team.
Yeah, that's a fantastic approach. And I mentioned that because I don't think I've heard anybody really centralizing their product usage data well and being able to operationalize off of that data. And, now in today's world with a Snowflake or a Databricks or even Salesforce, you could aggregate and do a lot of powerful analysis. I guess it's like anything too. It's almost like driving with your lights on in the fog. You can only see so far, and when you get to the next destination, you have kind of more visibility than you did maybe a quarter mile or a mile ago. So you're just kind of pivoting. It sounded like you had a lot of information, and now you're getting more refined on what exactly do I need. So you're at a different level of maturity, which is probably a normal cadence. It may not feel normal, but to me, it's kind of normal that you'd be at that stage. As you talk this through, it sounds like there's a lot of different players that are involved in that process. Like, what's the dialogue to convince them, or does the CEO need to buy into this? Or in your case, I think it was the CRO. Did she need to be the driver to say, yeah, was there an executive mandate to get this done? Or was it just kind of more at the working level? How were you able to kind of push that through?
I think that's a great question. So I think, yes, we had executives involved and, I'm in the exec meeting with them and I have to present on what we're doing to scale and drive efficiency. Scale and efficiency are the buzzwords of the year, right? That everybody's saying, but it's real and you have to make it work. I would say the leadership at SixSense has been great in terms of we had to get buy-in, right? That's why we did the initial, let's all get in a room and show you guys what we're looking to do. And now we're just running free with it. So we have it scaled. So Latney and Jeff Romano, they're kind of letting me run it, which is great. I love it. It actually really motivates me because,
Awesome.
CS has just been evolving so much. And this is like, I tell my team, this is the cool stuff. Like these are the resume builders for the future that matter. But what's been great is like, while you should definitely map out your customer journey and your strategy, I think like, you have to still be curious and like question what else is out there that your customers might want or that can be automated. So my team knows me very well. I am not a micromanager. We need to get things done. And if they have an idea, I'm like, let's run it. Like let's sample this out to a small subset of customers. They just launched something this week. I got it in my email. I'm like, wait, when did you guys do that? Like, that's really cool. So they have to be curious. And I think you have to give them like the rope to go and figure it out too, because it's changing daily. And I think as a CS leader, you gotta inspire the team. And there's just so much AI out there right now. I was on the phone with Insight partners, and they said something like AI or die. It's kind of how I feel. It's like you got to get on the train. Like if you think you're not going to get on the AI train, you're going to be left behind. So we're actually doing a CS AI hackathon. And the premise of the hackathon is that CSMs have to submit a video or a prompt of how they use our internal, co-pilot or agents to hack like something that takes them very long to do, whether it's creating an EBR, sending a value report to a customer, prepping an executive for a meeting. And it's been really cool, and it's been challenging them to think outside the box and like use our tools and play with the prompts and things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I love that hackathon idea. Certainly I've heard it on the sales and marketing side and even on the IT side, but this is the first that I've heard on CS. So I think that's a great idea. It involves people too. Like you're really getting them and it's a bit of a forcing function of adoption of AI, which has been a real sticking point, I'd say, organizationally. Like there's a few at the very top who see the efficiency benefits. So immediately they're like on the AI train, but getting people to actually use it, the hackathon is kind of an incentive or motivation to do that, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the people that are everybody's successful, but the people that are going to be successful are curious. They're going to try new things. They're going to fail fast. Like if something doesn't work, it's fine, and pivot. But yeah, embrace it. I mean, yesterday morning, I sent ChatGPT a picture of my kids' math homework. They're 7 because I couldn't figure it out, which is insane. And I got the answer back. So you got to use your resources, people. So that's what I'm trying to inspire them to do.
We both have twins. I wish I had that with my twins, because I too am and I'm a math nut, and they would bring me things, and of course, it probably gave them flashbacks of me bringing my homework to my dad, which I did once and never again. Like anyway,
Tough
we get
times.
down a rabbit hole on that one, but yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Like if you were thinking about our audience here that are listening, typically heads of sales or marketing or marketing leaders in a function, and that there would be some benefit to getting this information. Sometimes we have CS people joining us as well. Where would you first start kind of this initiative? If you did it all over again, who would you involve, and what would that process be like?
So sales and marketing were instrumental to building this out. We didn't do it end of quarter for us, obviously, but there was even conversations on, hey, Jeannine, I don't know if we should have, the salesperson in the meeting because, they have to be boots on the ground selling deals. And we were like, no, we need sales in the room. Like they need to have buy-in on what we're doing, what we want to do with our customers, and then how they are selling what we're doing. And that was instrumental because everything starts in pre-sale. And if we get pre-sale right and onboarding, guess what? It's going to be so much easier for them to come in and upsell their happy customers. Hey, Jeannine's team is doing exactly what we said. You're at X stage of the customer journey. Let's talk about this feature that you don't have, or, whatnot, if they'd like to do that. We've actually built out what we're calling a maturity model that aligns with the customer journey. And that is going to start with sales. So Raleigh Garcia, who runs our strategic services team. So there's a lot of players. He's built out our maturity model, and that starts with sales. So it allows sales to see how we're going to lead the customer through and how we're going to make them successful. And in my opinion, it makes them more of a trusted advisor in terms of selling. Like they can clearly articulate what's going to happen. It's going to have more referenceable customers. It's going to be easier for them. It's amazing. And then through the journey, yes, it's more like they pivot in for expansion. So like if there is expansion, if we launch a new product, if we do something else, they'll pivot in. I would say from a marketing standpoint, I am probably arm in arm every day with Claire Couch, who's our head of customer marketing, and her amazing team. They do so much for me. So they run customer marketing, but also lifecycle marketing. And her team is the one that helps us drive different areas of automation with ops, whether that's in Gainsight or Marketo or whatever, we're using those days. She's the one that actions on it because it's her job to have happy customers, customer experience, referenceable customers. And when we're in sync around the journey, it just flows. So like, I do think, kumbaya, yes, but it's very important to have strong relationships with your business partners cross-functionally, because like I could not do what we're doing without ops. Kai Powell runs it. I'm name dropping here. Nobody take my team, please. Without Kai, Claire, Andy, and the crew, they're really helping us bring it to life. Like I'll get on a call a lot, John, and say, hey, I have this crazy idea. Like, why don't we do this? And a lot of times we can do it. But then other times they're like, Jeannine, like we can't even report on that. And I also believe if you can't report on it, it's not worth your time, because like, how am I supposed to show it's working and whatnot? So sales and marketing were instrumental. I've never had an issue with our sales or marketing team though internally. So, but I think like as leaders, like push yourselves in those rooms. Like you have to be there because you're going to want to know what's happening along the way. And then for Claire, let's say that's customer marketing, we have our big event coming up, Breakthrough customer event in November. It's very easy for us to weave content into the customer journey to get our customers there, to get prospects there, to get exec meetings. So they've been my best friends in the whole process, because it's not a CS thing, it's a company thing. Just like they say, customer success is company initiative, it's not a CS initiative.
Yeah, I call it shoe leather diplomacy. It sounds like you're doing a lot of talking with people internally, and you're having to connect with them to kind of make things happen. So, again, shoe leather diplomacy of talking with people and involving them in the process. It sounds like there's a lot of people that you would want to get involved in this. And then maybe on the flip side, if you're starting off, what are the most impactful KPIs that you should be looking at, retention wise or adoption? We started talking a little bit about NRR, but like what does good look like on the other side, or what would you suggest, or what's that maturity curve of good looking like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So from KPIs, I feel like, any company, they focus on gross retention, net retention, win rate, things like that. Of course, everybody wants to retain their customers and grow their business. But for us, we still look at those metrics. Do not get me wrong. My boss would kill me if I was like, oh, who cares? But we do look at the KPIs, the leading indicators, way more specifically now. So yes, usage metrics we look at for certain parts of our product, but we've actually created a customer health score that has about 15 different inputs in it. The inputs, some of them are driven based on usage. So some are driven based on usage of our product. Some are inputted based on, like NPS or CSAT and things like that. But something that we developed over the last year or so is a metric and a KPI called a verified outcome. So verified outcomes we're using. And what that is a documented outcome and value metric that our customers have to agree upon based on the value they're seeing with SixSense. It's documented with their CSM. We give them a path using the maturity model on how to get to these outcomes. And it really does just help us streamline customer health, red, yellow, green. Because if you've been a customer for 3 years and you have we call them VOs, verified outcomes, there's a problem. There's a problem. Like you should be seeing something with SixSense, right? And it's helping them throughout the maturity model and the life cycle get to those outcomes. So VOs is a big company KPI initiative at the executive level. We have executive sponsors on that with Jeff and Brian Wise. So that's been really big. And then we also have launched mutual success plans. So I don't know about other folks on the phone, but people have a meaty book sometimes, and it's how do I have an EBR with 10, 20 accounts depending on what segment you're in. So we launched mutual success plans through Gainsight, and we have documented strategic priorities, outcomes, business owners that we publish back and forth with our customers using Matic. It's automated, it's easier, I should say, than, doing it manual. But then the CSM, the KPI that we track is, have you sent an MSP? Has the customer signed off on it? Are we actually engaged? Because I can't tell you how many accounts sometimes they go dark, right? Like you think they're happy and they're just missing a status meeting. It's like, wait a second. Did you send them an MSP? Do they have this? So MSPs, mutual success plans, and verified outcomes are 2 KPIs that I assume most companies are not looking at, but that we have implemented, and we do look at those and report out on them week over week.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a lot of food for thought, and it was reminding me of kind of like your deployments. Maybe an analogy like a race car in my mind of, okay, you've purchased SixSense, a race car. It's a high performance car, and you give it, the client owns the race car. There's some things that are outside of your control, though, like the gas or fuel or the oil or the data that is in the systems, which drive the race car, and the process, like the expertise of the driver, which in today's market, a lot of people are churning jobs. So how do you account for factors that are outside of SixSense's control in that health score? Because, there's so many big factors of data and process that you really don't own, but directly correlate to the success of your product, based on our own experience. But how do you account for that, out of curiosity?
I love that analogy of the race car. I mean, I hear it sometimes, right? Oh, you guys are the Ferrari. And I'm like, who doesn't want to drive a Ferrari?
Right.
But to your point, you need the inputs. So I think the maturity model brings the customers back. So if there is turnover, if there is a new point of contact that doesn't have the expertise of ABM, the maturity model, which is tied, it's customer lifecycle, brings them back whole. It's like, let's start with the basics. Like,
Gotcha.
You don't have to go and do this giant race. You just need to start here, and these are the outcomes you're going to see. So it helps us be very prescriptive and not have a new person come in and get overwhelmed that there's too much to do. It gives them that journey and that roadmap so that they can just jump right in, or they can take a step back if they need to, go back to the basics.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And we've made a business out of helping companies, not necessarily, the product. And you and I have been in the industry for a while, me probably a lot longer, but a common issue that I find, and I was guilty of this when I was an operator, is it's easy to point the fingers at the platform. It's a lot harder to point it at self, to say, hey, I don't have the abilities, or my data is awful, or my business process sucks. Nobody will ever admit to that, but they'll be real quick to say that platform. And, I was guilty when I first adopted a marketing automation platform many years ago. I won't share who it was, but it was one of the major players. And I'd point to it and say, the platform's all screwed up, when in reality, I didn't have the depth of understanding of its capabilities. So it's interesting that you factor that in.
Yeah, and if you can find a partner team, and if you can find a services team that there's, obviously, that have experience, implementing SixSense and driving growth, yeah, they're going to accelerate. It's like anything, like my Gainsight, I wasn't using it as much. And then we hired someone that is like a super admin. And I feel like, the possibilities are endless now. Like, we can do a lot of stuff, but I do have someone that knows what they're doing and, can help me along the way.
It's so critical. I've shared this publicly, like, you can only run as fast as, in the case of marketing, we call it almost the operational side of things, your rev ops, your marketing ops, maybe it's your CS ops. Like, if you really are proficient at these tools, you can go so much further and faster than if you're kind of struggling either internally or with a partner. If you have that combination, your revenue recognition goes up by an order of magnitude, your retention improves, just everything, just life is much better. I just noticed time here, and we're at the kind of toward the tail end. Any closing thoughts or remarks, anything I may have missed in our conversation today, or anything you want to leave the audience with in terms of advice?
I think the closing remark is just, at SixSense, the customer journey map, it's not a project you finish. It's always evolving. So while I'm saying we did it in December, week over week, month over month, it's evolving, and that's something to embrace. And it's actually very exciting in the world today that we're living in, with AI and agents and co-pilots and whatnot. So, start small, map it out with your team, get folks involved, And then I think you'll see that by having it mapped out, the ideas that come out of it are endless of what we're doing that we shouldn't be doing, and what we're not doing that we should be doing to drive success.
Excellent. Well, Jeannine, thank you for joining us. I think you're onto some big things there. Like I said, very few people are talking about it. And now that you've kind of been through that first hard part, hopefully you'll really start seeing the benefit here in the not too distant future. So congratulations on all that accomplishment. And thank you again for joining.
Thank you so much.
And summarizing, so next week we have Kristen Heggie, who has her own PR agency. She's going to be talking about the impact of PR on AI and the search capabilities and generative optimization. PR has now become really important in that whole search capability. So she'll be joining us with Meg next week. So same time, we'll see you then.
Great.